Norway has gone off the rails. Not as hard as this stream has, but it has gone off the rails, okay? Norway has decided to make a change. So, we've talked about Norway and the sovereign wealth fund, okay? Basically, people often say, look at Norway. They have a great, economy, and they're socialist. No, they're not. They're democratic socialism, but their economy is a capitalist economy. All these economies are capitalist economies. You can't have a non-capitalist economy and compete in the world right now. But Norway, and I did a video on it, hit the global jackpot twice. I did a whole video on how Norway got all the oil reserves, and now they have all the phosphate reserves. They hit the jackpot twice. So they have more money than they know what to do with. So what did they decide to do with that money? They decided to make a sovereign wealth fund. And people pay into taxes as well, high taxes. And then when they get out, they get a pension the rest of their life when they retire. Problem is they're having a population where the younger people are graduating, going to other countries because of the low taxes and not having to pay it, and then coming back and taking advantage of it. But they don't mind because they're making so much goddamn money. You're not Indian though? Okay. Did I claim to be Indian? Thank you for that, Captain Obvious. And so, Norway has a sovereign wealth fund, and it has grown exponentially. They have invested in almost 8,000 companies. And the people of Norway love the sovereign wealth fund. Okay, they absolutely love it. But there is a clause. There is this thing called ethics, or ethical investing. And so, one of the things that was done when they created this sovereign wealth fund is they said, we have to have ethical investing. We will not invest in anything that is related to war or profits off of poverty or genocide or conflict, anything like that, anything that harms people. Well, the problem is that when you have a several $trillion fund, you have a lot of different positions. $2.1 trillion. When Europe said earlier this year that they were going to start investing a lot more into their defense companies, Norway was like, we should get a piece of that. We really should. And originally, it wasn't going to get much of a move. The minority labor government proposed that they should do it. And everybody was like, that's not going to happen, though. Well, it did. Last week, the parliament voted in favor of what they're saying is pausing ethical divestments. They're going to pause ethical divestments. Now, why are they doing this? They say it's because they are going to update the fund's ethical guidelines. They are going to update the ethical guidelines. Now, is this because of them wanting to invest in military and defense stocks? Well, not exactly. I think that may be the bigger plan. But the reason that they're doing it is not because of that. It is because they want to divest from Caterpillar. Why do they want to divest from Caterpillar? Because they are saying that Caterpillar is being used in the destruction, reconstruction, or however it's being looked at in Gaza. And that Caterpillar's machines, while Caterpillar isn't doing it themselves, their machines are being used in Gaza. And their guidelines state that they cannot invest in companies involved in serious violations of individual rights in war or conflict situations. Now, the reason they are pausing this, though, is because you might say to yourself, well, then why are they pausing this and redoing it if this is a clear-cut case of we are divesting from this because they're doing something that is bad? Because it turns out that a shitload of their companies that they invest in technically break this rule, and that there could be a $1 trillion sell-off from the wealth fund if they actually stuck to the rules as they are in place. Now, they're going to do this for about a year. They're going to pause this. They're not going to divest anything else for a year while they do this rehashing of the guidelines. Some people are questioning why they're doing it so fast. To give you an idea of why they're changing this, okay, and I'm not here to talk about ethics with you. You can say that this makes sense. You can say that this is just a shitty way of them to find a loophole to do what they want to do here, okay? But 16% of the sovereign wealth fund is NVIDIA, Microsoft, Apple, Amazon, Google, Meta, and Avgo. Based on what these companies are currently doing and the way that the world is changing and what they're doing now and what you see from their capex and everything, do you understand why they're pausing this? Now, recently, last week or earlier this week, the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund actually voted against Elon Musk's pay package for up to $1 trillion. Now, the socialist left, the socialist party, the social left party of Norway has actually voted against this whole thing and said that the only reason they're doing this is because they want to impress the U.S. and saying that they're just basically in fear of the United States, in fear of Trump, that if they were to divest all these things and hurt the stock market or not support these things, that Trump would retaliate in some way. So that's the battle lines that are being drawn in Norway right now. And so this is what's happening in Norway. You have a $2.1 trillion wealth fund that, by its own rules from 2004, needs to sell off a shitload of their stuff. And they own a ton, $2.1 trillion worth of stocks. Now, they own some private companies in Norway. They own international companies, about 8,000 companies. But once the Caterpillar thing happened, they started saying, well, a lot of these companies are breaking that rule. And so they're quickly trying to rewrite these rules for ethical investing. So they basically paused their ethical, divesting due to ethical reasons as they update their guidelines, which in turn would allow them to potentially invest in military and defense companies down the line. Amazon is considered unethical due to practices like anti-competitive behavior. They don't give a shit about that. Everybody's anti-competitive. Their rules state that they can't be invested in a company that is directly or indirectly involved or supporting any kind of war crime or egregious acts or or above that. And so this is a major deal nobody's talking about right now. And I think it's because people don't understand how big the Norwegian sovereign wealth fund is. And Norway got it good. I mean, they fucking hit the fucking lottery twice. So this is actually a big news that nobody's really paying attention to yet, because I don't think people really understand outside of Norway how big and what the Norwegian wealth fund is. And that's why I said the best retirement plan in the world: marry a Norwegian girl or guy. And don't fuck it up. Marry them. That's your retirement. So I want you to go to Norway. Okay? You're going to fly to Norway. You're going to download a dating app. I don't care what it is. I don't know if they have Tinder over there, or it's Norway, so it's probably called Timber. But you're going to download that. And you're going to swipe left on every fucking 9 or 10. You don't want that shit. You don't want that shit. That's either fake or it's not worth your time, okay? I want you to swipe away on all the 1s and 2s. And 3s. I want you to set it to 4 to 6. That's what you're going to go for. Remember, you're in this for the money, okay? We do a lot of things for money, okay? You're going to set it for that 4 to 6 range. Because let me tell you something right now. It's dark most of the year anyways, so you don't have to, you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? It's low light. It gives them about a +2, okay? So you're looking at about a 6 to 8 in that dark light, in that dark lighting. You're going to get you one of those, okay? You're going to marry them. You're not going to fuck it up, okay? They're low enough on the average look so you don't have to worry about them leaving you. They're high enough that even in the dark you don't feel things that are kind of scare you off, for men and women. Okay, that 4 to 6 is your sweet spot. Less light helps you out. It's cold. You're all bundled up anyways, so you can't tell if they're skinny or not. You know what I mean? Do your thing. Stick with them. Get to that retirement age. Mostly, if you are in your 40s or 50s, go there and get their population's running low. There's not a lot of people in their 30s. Go find you someone in your 30s or whatever. It is what it is. Or opposite. Guys, find you an older one, okay? Get you an older one, all right? Because they're already there. But, you know what I'm saying? And then get that sovereign. Well, that is your meal ticket. That is your meal ticket. That's your meal ticket. Some of you might say, well, why would I go to Norway to do it? I could find a Norwegian that's overseas and that I can get it and go back. No, you need one that's never left the farm. You don't know, because they don't know there's better out there. You don't want them to know that there's better options than you out there. You need to, everything I can give you that is an advantage, I'm trying to give you, okay? You want to go as far north as possible, where it's darker is longer, so they don't look as bad. You want to get one that's never left the fjord, okay? If they've left that's never left the farm or the fjord, okay? Probably one that's dad is a fisherman or some shit. It's not going to smell, but at least the smell is up in, clothes on, clothes off, it's the same. But you're going to want to make sure. You don't have to worry about the land. I'm telling you, I'm trying to help you guys out. You don't want to, all you hear is me joking and memeing, but this is some real shit right now. Have you seen the Norwegian language, though? I've noticed that the far north Norwegian girls, their accent's the same, or they're like this, or either, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. Here's the thing. You have to look at the bigger picture. It's called zoom out, okay? You got to zoom out. There's a bear case scenario every time. Make sure you understand the shapes. Do not, under any circumstances, accidentally end up in Sweden. Please make sure you don't cross that border, because if you do the same thing in Sweden, you are fucked. You are absolutely fucked. Okay? You do not under any circumstances, wanted to be a Swede. Do not make that mistake. This plan will fail miserably if you end up here. I'm not gonna explain why, because I don't feel like I need to. Understand where the border is. If your map doesn't work, get a compass. If you don't know how to read a compass, I don't give a shit. Find the North Star and find out. You know how you can tell the North Star? Because the North Star never crosses into Sweden. It's not that stupid. So as long as you're on this side, as long as the North Star is on this side of you, you're in Norway. Do not go to Sweden. Going to Sweden instead of Norway is like going to a 5-star restaurant, sitting down, ordering a fucking steak. Someone comes out, takes a raw fish and slaps you in the face with it, and then gives you the bill.